Hey, I'm Tim, and this is the Love at First Sight podcast, a podcast for SaaS CEOs and developers that truly want to learn more about design and care about it, but they're not designers that find it too complex. In every episode, we discuss how to design products that become sticky and unforgettable. We dive into the topics of taste, UX, growth, and conversions, and we share practical tips and frameworks you can add into your development process. Enough with the intro, so let's dive into today's episode. So yeah, welcome to the podcast. Thanks for joining me. Really great to have you here. And as I mentioned in the past as well, that one of the reasons that I wanted to invite you is because I believe you have a great taste, and this podcast is really about people with good taste. So yeah, thanks for joining me. And we always start with a short intro of who you are, what you're working on, and what is the audience you're actually helping and supporting with your services in this case. So yeah, let's do that first. Let's go through that.
Yeah, so I'm Alex. I am a messaging strategist for B2B professional services firms. I mainly work with marketing agencies and consulting companies who are doing like at least $1 million in revenue per year. And I help them not just capture the vibes and the values of what they're trying to say, but more like generate like leads and close more clients, actually like put the messaging to work.
Nice. I never asked you, but what kind of business, like what kind of service firms are you working with mostly? Is it, let's say, design studios, or what do you have any specific industries, or is it a mix?
Yeah, I work with a lot of digital agencies
Mm,
specifically because that area has become very, very crowded and very, very competitive, and therefore they need my kind of services more acutely. Um,
yeah.
I kind of come in when there's like a big spike in competition generally, when like
Mm,
just need to be able to stand out. You just need to be able to like have that edge. If you're in a non-competitive space, you don't really need me as much. I'm not that valuable. But when like there's a lot of people selling the same thing and saying the same thing and making the same promises, that's when your messaging really needs to be dialed in.
got it. Got it. Yeah, on this, it's I fully understand what you mean with the digital agencies because in terms of my story, I'm not sure if I shared in the past. Now we're building this product design studio called Love at First Try, where we're specialized into SaaS product design, and we stopped calling it a design studio. Now we call ourselves in-house design team as a service because we're literally in-house and we're not an external agency. And people would always have this debate of like, yeah, but we're looking for somebody in-house, like a freelancer. We don't want an agency. And I was like, but we're the same. Why do you think that? And I was realizing that it's really the name on that. And why I'm sharing this is before I had a design studio with a friend of mine back in Greece, where we come from, and that was the excuse also to move to the Netherlands, where we're called Be Foolies, and it was more of a branding and marketing agency.
Mm.
And back then, we were also a digital agency doing all kinds of things with no specialization or focus on an industry. I pretty much did all the mistakes that I'm not doing right now. It was kind of in my learning chapter for how to do services. And what I remember from that time, and I still see, is that so many digital agencies try to differentiate with, in my personal opinion, I don't want to generalize, with stupid statements like, we're the digital agency for the companies that dare to dream, or like you have all these kind of inspirational kind of statements that they try to look different. But like, guys, come on. Or for like the creative thinkers or the builders of tomorrow. I'm like, come on. It's like,
Yeah.
just tell me what you do, and also how is it different? Like everybody says the same thing and just tries to kind of communicate that we're really building the products of tomorrow. And then you look at the portfolio and just building websites, for example. So it's yeah, I totally see the struggle in the industry that you need a unique angle actually, which is the next topic we're gonna discuss actually,
Yeah.
which is yeah.
I mean, well, the what every single industry, everyone just kind of copies their competitors, right? Everyone's kind of just like,
Mm,
we don't know what we should say. What should we put on our website? Let's look at who we're aware of, who we might be losing work to sometimes, and copy and paste them, right?
exactly. Yeah,
And
it's a good
you
point.
just kind of get this facsimile copy of a copy of a copy, and it gets like, you know, when you see a JPEG image that's been shared too many times, it has those like artifacts on it. That's kind of, you see like the language version of that, and it just like gets all a bit corrupted. But where that starts is like people copying like the fancy like Madison Avenue creative firms. Like those are where those
Mm,
big inspirational messages come from, and they have the websites that have
mm,
big kind of glitzy show reels and stuff. But like unless you're selling Super Bowl ads to Nestle, like that's not going to work for you.
mm.
If you're selling to like small to medium sized businesses, they need to have like
Good
a
point.
clear cut, direct, differentiated message lodged in their brain to know why you're even worth talking to.
Yeah, it's a beautiful insight. The type of the audience, which is like if they're SMBs or big companies, and the type of service you're selling. Because one of my favorite agencies that I'm also trying to get in the podcast is Raked Edge. Maybe you've heard of them. They're a brand studio based in London, and they did their new brand of Wise that was called previously TransferWise, and they're really good, man. Their design, the taste is so freaking good, and they have these kind of statements on their website, but they don't feel wrong because it's really actually, you can see these statements into the work, even if they're more kind of aspirational and so on. You can really feel it, and it's really about the creative stuff that they're selling. So yeah, it's very true. What you said is the type of audience, the size of the companies, and also the type of service. If you sell conversions or just websites or something around creative strategy and so on. Um, so we're gonna dive deeper into this because that's what Alex is all about, always like the perspective and like how do you differentiate. But before that, I wanted to ask about the concept of taste. And the question is, what is taste for you and how do you define it? What is, yeah, when I ask Lisa, what comes to your mind when you think about taste?
Yeah, such a good question. I think the only way I can think to define it is taste is how you want things to be.
Mm.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, 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 yeah. I'm curious to learn more, but I kind of, I think I get it. Yeah, it's like the vision you have in a way. The taste comes down to like the what you're envisioning in a way you would say.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I have like so like I started out as like a humble copywriter, just kind of
Hmm.
doing whatever people would pay me
Mm,
for, and like I did a lot of stuff. I was like writing the copy on like the back of like a pretzel snack company packaging kind of thing. I don't know why.
nice.
Um, uh, And so like I have a lot of like people who are copywriters who reach out to me and they're like, or people who are like, hey, should I become a copywriter?
Mm,
And I go, maybe. But I think the difference is now that we are in this kind of AI world, it used to be an easy, like, yeah, like go for it, give it a go. But I think now that it's become so like automated and commoditized and like copywriting itself is no longer a that marketable of a skill, it's not really about developing or mastering the skill of copywriting itself. It's more about honing the taste. Like, what does
mm,
good copywriting look like? And this is what I
mm,
tell them actually now. It's like, don't master the skill, hone the taste. If you have a good idea, then you can see it when it's generated, and then you can start to use it and get the results off the back of that. So I think it
mm,
comes down to that. It's like, how do you want things to be when it comes to something like copywriting? If it's like conversion optimized, how you want it to
mhm,
be is something that is persuasive and that will like
mm,
convert people who are reading it. If it's something that's trying to like send a message or instill an idea in somebody's mind, how you want it to be is something that speaks to that creates like a logical argument and like gets
mm,
people to process the information in their mind and reach the conclusion that you want them to reach. That's what good looks like. So that's
mm.
my kind of weird roundabout way of defining taste. It's like how you want
No,
things.
it's not weird at all. And why I love this question so much and I ask every guest because there's no right answer for that.
Yeah.
It's really personal. Like, how do you personally define it? Like, what does it really mean for you? So yeah, with this one, there's no right or wrong answer. It's really kind of a how it feels for everybody. On this, I never asked you, do you do the design on your content on your own? Like all the branding and creative direction of your content, is it you or do you have a team behind it?
Yeah, that's just me. Just me in
Okay.
Canada taking away.
Oh, wow. Okay. I would love to go a bit deeper because that's actually how I discovered you. I saw beautiful cars on LinkedIn, like, this guy has a really good taste. I need to learn more about him. And then I started following and so on. And one of my favorite carousels that you publish on LinkedIn is about the UK economist. What is his name? The Gary's economic guy, economics. Yeah, and it was so well explained, everything like that, the how you explain the concept of be a framer, like how you frame a message, and it's not about just the message itself, the importance of contrast. I'm going to include on the podcast notes like one of my favorite pieces of content out there, because it's so well explained. And also the aesthetic, like the visual part of your content is really good, and I really like how it has a very specific direction. That's the thing that is hard to find on LinkedIn, is proper creative direction of content. People tend to add themselves in the post a lot, like a huge kind of a crop of themselves in the bottom right corner. Like they look pretty cringy, I would say nowadays, a lot of LinkedIn carousels. And with you, it was very elegant. That's what I like about your content. It's warm, like it has a bit of a warm and welcome vibe. And I wanted to ask about the inspiration, because I feel it brings me a bit of retro Apple ads sometimes vibes from that. So I can see also from the photography, it brings me a bit of a, what is the Netflix series with the advertising? The uh,
You mean like Mad
Mad
Men?
Men?
Yeah,
Yeah, yeah.
yeah.
It feels like you've got inspiration from that kind of a era, but I'm curious, like to hear more about the story behind the direction, and what is also an inspiration for you
Mhm.
when you design your content, because that's also related to taste.
So like getting to that point was it was a really like big trial and error process. And I'm not a designer. I actually had to like kind of rewire my brain to like think visually. Because I'm a
Hmm.
word guy. I don't think in images. I think in like words. Like it's weird. My inner monologue is like full
Mm,
sentences with punctuation and grammar and everything, which I thought
that's
everyone had,
interesting.
but apparently that's not normal. Um, so I kind of went at it from like a pretty like logical point of view. Like it wasn't really like a what am I feeling? It was more like what is something that implicitly conveys value. And so the thing that I see a lot of people doing with their like the carousels on LinkedIn and like the visual design is they kind of just like emulate like a kind of looks like every SaaS website ever, where it's like cool, this like this sans serif font on this kind of soft gray and a random pop of color somewhere, and it's like this all looks kind of samey, and it doesn't. There's no implicit like conveyance of value. But what are the things in
Mm.
the real world that do? And so I actually started looking at like movie posters for like premium documentaries, like those like prestigious documentaries.
Mm.
Like, okay, how are they like relaying this? So they're using like really like thin fonts and like kind of big imagery with like small text and like it's all like very carefully framed. And that kind of then went into like magazines from the 80s. That's actually where most of the inspiration came from, is like looking at like cigarette ads, like full page cigarette ads in 1980s magazines, looking at just how they lay out the articles in those like in like
Mm.
Esquire magazine in 1982. It's got beautiful like document design, and so it was just really about emulating. I was kind of trying to capture that vibe because that is like I feel there's a coziness to this, and I like it, and it also
Yeah.
kind of harkens back to a time where people felt optimistic about the future, and that's always nice.
Yeah, it seems like you have a good design talent, man. I'm gonna say that you're not a designer. Like, yeah, I'm selling design services, and my content is not as good as yours. That's the reality. So who is the designer?
Yeah, but it took me so long, dude. It took me ages. It took me
Yeah,
months to get there because I just had to like
yeah.
learn what even the process was.
I totally understand. It's like also with my content now, I'm in the process. Like, it's a bit of topic to the podcast, but I'm in the process of working with the new team as well, and kind of trying to improve the visual communication on our marketing. But I just wanted to comment briefly on what I said that it took ages. It's so time consuming, and so it can be also very expensive, because in my case, I don't have the time to do it. I'm busy with client work. And yeah, it's like having great content. It's easy to say a name for, but to do it, it really takes a lot of effort and energy, and can be a full-time job. LinkedIn content, it's no easy.
Totally, totally. I actually I have clients ask me like, how do you find the time to create this stuff? I'm like, I
Yeah.
don't have the time. I just have to make the time. Like I just am carving out an hour here and there at the end of the day, at the start
Mhm.
of the day. Like you just make it work because distribution is it's everything. It's the only thing.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. 100%, 100%. On this, another question that I wanted to ask on the taste part. How do you develop your taste? Like how, or maybe how did you develop your taste? So let's not try to find a methodology for somebody to follow, but actually let's look into what you did. How did you end up having, in this case, this influence and also knowing where to look? So yeah, I'm curious about how do you feel that you actually developed your taste if you look back?
It's a good question. That's a really good question, and I don't know if I have a good answer for you. Because like
Yeah, there's no good answer. Just think out loud.
my,
That's the vibe.
my house is filled with like mid-century furniture. The music I
Okay.
listen to is all like from the olden days. Like I just kind of am already in that thing. Like I'm very uninspired by like 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 modern Apple design, kind of that really like sleek and minimal stuff. I just don't. I go to like the browns and the earth tones and like that stuff. Like I just vibe with it. I don't know how it developed. It's just kind of I don't know, dude. I just am this. I don't have an explanation for
No,
it.
that's great. And also, what I hear from you is the environment. Is also like the
Mm,
environment can have a massive impact on the taste that you develop. Uh, like if we look at your case as well, and sometimes it also happens. Like it may happen that you're surrounded by this because, let's say, of your parents or whatever, like the environment that you grew up into, and you get the influence. For me, for example, I'm originally from Greece. I grew up in Athens, and I wouldn't say that Athens is a really well-designed city. I mean, the old historic center is beautiful, but in general, Athens is just a huge piece of concrete. It's so fun or well-designed. And I moved to the Netherlands, and one of the reasons that I wanted to move to a country like the Netherlands was design influence. I wanted to be surrounded by beauty, structure, consistency. Like that's something that I really love with the old cities in Europe. Also, like buildings that have history and they don't look like just a modern neutral kind of a design, because I'm a big believer that the environment can have a massive influence on the taste. Like you're just kind of training your unconscious mind. Like that's all the influence you give it, and then suddenly the outcome is going to be better. And the analogy that I always like to make on this is that now with all the Netflix documentaries about health, it's very popular that what you eat, I think was the one of the documentaries, that the energy you put in your body is going to define the energy that goes out of your body if you're going to feel happy and so on. And it's kind of the same with the creativity level. Like what you consume defines the quality of what you create. So the environment can have a big influence. Yeah, and yeah, also what you said that you just vibe with it. Taste, like what I hear from that is that taste is also something personal. Like you just like it. It's just you. Like it's not that you build it somehow. It's also part of who you are and how you're like, yeah,
yeah.
who you are actually.
I mean, it's kind of interesting. I'm the kind of person who just like over intellectualizes everything, but
Hmm.
design and like my taste, I haven't over intellectualized that because I don't even know how. But I do think that like there is a that you used the B word of beauty, and this is something that took me a really long time to realize because I'm a words guy. But like, there is a competitive advantage in beauty, in creating something beautiful. There is a true competitive advantage to that. And once I realized that, I was like, oh, right. It kind of like, and it's so obvious to you and designers. Like they're like, yeah, we've been trying to tell you this for decades. But it just kind of clocked and clicked into my brain. I was like, oh, of course, of course. There is like, it speaks to like something that words can't actually relay, something that words can't capture. There is
Mm,
something deeper. There's another layer there that once you do present it in a certain way, there is some kind of magic that occurs. That's really hard to
mm.
articulate, that you can't articulate. That's the whole point. It's unarticulatable. I don't even know if that's a word, but yeah, that when you
I really
tap
love how you
into
describe
it.
it.
Yeah, you know what I mean?
And yeah, 100%. And I wanted to add something on that actually, is that how I see what you described is Mm, dimensions of an experience. And what I mean is the following. You have words, you have colors, you have the visual part, you have the sound. If you look at your senses, for example, like it's like you have the music that you can have motion. So the moment you go from words to actually something visual, static visual in this case, suddenly you introduce a new dimension to your content that can that can touch different parts of the brain and the soul and the heart, let's say, of the reader in a way. And imagine what could happen if you also had sound and music and also video and so on. So I really see it as different levels and different dimensions that you actually add into your content and people can interact with. And it's really the difference between the design and the words. Yeah, you explained it really well. I really literally have nothing to add on that one. I really love, I think like you're my favorite conversation on this, on the taste, because we started with a simple question, but then we kind of went deeper very organically. I really love what we've mentioned so far. It's really cool. And it's always interesting just to reflect on this. Like many things happen because it's what you said. It's like this is who I am. It just feels right to me. But once you start reflecting on why did I do this or do that, it's a very interesting thought process as well. To this kind of reflection. Um, so now is what I have in mind to discuss is the next topic, which is more on the strategy side, which is the key message and the key topic. That you're focused on, which is the following. Your perspective is your product. Make clients care about what you say and not what you sell. So my first question on this is, could you explain it a bit further? What do you mean by that? It's pretty clear as a message, but I'm curious to hear about some more details from your side. How would you
Yeah.
elaborate on that?
So I think we're at a pretty interesting point in history from the business kind of lens, because we've moved from everybody buying everything from faceless businesses and corporations to people really like buying from people. Like people want to know who the CEO of a company is now. That didn't used to be the case. Like that used to be pretty
Mm.
weird. Like they would hide because it's like we don't want like billionaires used to hide and now they live life out in the open. It's a new
It's the
thing,
other way around. Yeah.
right? And we see this on like the micro level, especially in SaaS with like the founder brand movement. This whole like cottage industry that's popped up. It's like a
Mm.
subcategory of the personal brand, the founder brand. And like, why is that such a thing now? It's not because the founders are just like automatically credible and people want to hear from founders. Like if a founder comes out on LinkedIn and is like, thrilled to announce we've hired someone new, like no one cares, right? The founder brand that people actually care about is the founder that actually is bringing a new concept into the
Mm.
conversation.
Mhm.
And actually, if we look at like the reports of like the impact of thought leadership and how it's affected purchasing decisions in like 2019, 58% of B2B companies purchased due to thought leadership. They purchased a product of some or a service of some kind. In 2024, that number was 72%. Like it's just gone up and to the right
Mm.
and it's not slowing down. Like it's such a key thing. And this is why founder brands are now like a thing because it's like, oh, this is no
Mm.
longer an optional nice to have. This is like a big slice of the marketing investment that we're making. And so, how do you make that work? How do you actually, make that a viable investment of your marketing budget? Again, it's not by saying, hey, we're thrilled to announce, and it's not by sharing tips and tricks of like, hey, I've written 4 million landing pages, and these are the 5 secrets of a high converting landing page that nobody will tell you. And you click into it, and it's like, have a call to action, have a hero step,
Yeah.
right? Um, and but like that's an extreme example. There are like tips and tricks that can be helpful, right? That can be useful. The problem is that if you're just sharing tips and tricks style content, then people are not assigning that to you. It's valuable, but it's
Mhm.
not memorable. What's memorable are not tips, but tipping points. the moment where a belief shifted from one thing that you thought was true to, oh, a new reality, a new belief system. We were talking just before we hit record of like, you were reading my content and you realized, okay, B2B SaaS and B2B services are not the same thing. And like somebody selling both, it's like such different skill sets actually. Like that was a tipping point that was engineered through my content. And that's what all of my content, like that's what I'm trying to engineer all the time. And when you do reliably engineer tipping points, then people assign that to you. They assign the belief shift, the mindset shift that they had to you, and that's actually what gets cut through. That's what the founder brands that are making it work, that's what they're doing. That's what Adam Robinson is doing. That's what all the successful ones are doing. So that's how you make people care about what you say, not what you sell. And this really is like the future of how people are buying. This is what brand looks like going forward. It's not just selling a product, it's selling a perspective alongside that product. And so what that perspective is an argument for change against how things are typically done in your industry and for how things should be done. We're talking very theoretical here, so I'll give you a practical example.
Yeah, okay, go for it.
So like HubSpot is a really good example of this in action.
Mm-hmm.
So HubSpot was founded by Brian and Damesh. Brian was working in, this is, before they met, Brian was working in B2B sales and he was doing all the right things of like going to networking events and sending cold emails and handing out business cards. And he was really struggling to hit his quotas. He couldn't even hit his quotas, let alone his targets, right? And so he went to his boss because all of his teammates were struggling as well. Went to his boss. He was like, I don't know what's happening. I don't know why this isn't working. I don't know what I'm doing wrong. And his boss had like 30, 40 years in the game, was like, I don't think you are doing anything wrong. Like this just doesn't work.
Mm.
And then he met Damesh. And Damesh had started up an online blog and an online community. And he was getting clients in the door that were the exact clients that Brian was trying to get. Damesh was like fighting them off with a stick. And so he was like, okay, what's going on? How is this possible? Damesh was like, I'm just helping people. Like people buy from people who help them. And that's actually what sparked HubSpot. He was like, oh, okay, right. HubSpot is not just like a marketing automation platform. It's an argument against outbound sales and for inbound marketing. That was the perspective. The technology that HubSpot was putting forward already existed, right? Like that was already in market. They weren't actually bringing anything new to the table. The software they created already, like versions of that already existed. But people bought HubSpot because they bought into the perspective of inbound marketing. So when I say your perspective is your product, I mean it quite literally. People will buy your product if they're bought into the perspective that informs it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it's pretty clear with the example. Even before that, it was pretty clear, and that's why I love kind of your content as well, because you don't say something very complex and then you try to explain it. It's already very interesting and clear, but then you just make it more clear.
I'm a words guy. It's what I try and do.
Right. Yeah, I can really feel it also on the way that you present and everything, that words is really kind of your thing. Yeah, 100%. Um, let me think. Yeah, I just have some thoughts. I was even taking some notes on what you mentioned. I've been thinking about this whole perspective. So some questions that I want to ask is, I've been trying to do this for myself, just kind of trying to define, okay, what is my perspective? And I wanted to ask you a question. Is it just one perspective that you actually have, or like many? Like that's always a challenge, because if I try to answer the question myself, I'll just bring some examples so you can do a bit of a back and forth to understand
Yeah.
better the whole concept. Is we have an in-house design team as a service, right? And why do I believe that this is great? Because I'll start an example, building a custom design, hiring a freelancer is not enough to do a world-class design. So if you really want to do world-class design, you need product design, product-led growth strategy, UX design, branding, and motion design. And this you cannot do with a freelancer. You have to build a custom team. Building a custom team is going to be very time consuming. You're a CEO, you don't hang out with designers all day, you don't have access to the designers network. It's really hard for you to find one. Then you need to hire a lead designer, and this person has to build a team. And this is very time consuming and very expensive. You have to go into annual contracts. You have to wait for them to quit their previous job, or you have to wait until they're available. It's very kind of a messy. And in our case, we have a service where you just kind of start on Monday, and you have trained specialized design team that cannot miss the mark in any case. So I have this perspective that the old way of building design teams is not great. Like there is a new way. Is this a perspective, what I just described, or is this a sales pitch? That's where sometimes I'm getting confused. That's why I'm sharing like personal examples to kind of do this interactive thing to define it, to define a bit better of where is the line with what is a perspective and what is not a perspective.
Yeah. So, such a good question, dude. And one that people don't ask, actually, but a really good question. So the answer is yes, you should have multiple perspectives, but really there are like there's a core three. So there are three types of perspective. This is like all perspectives fall into one of these three categories. You've got a mindset first perspective, which is like, okay, here is like the status quo belief in our space that everybody believes. It's like a false assumption. And then here is like the new thing that we want them to believe that we're bringing forward. Then you've got a method first perspective. This is like the protocol, the playbook, the standard process that everybody's following in our space, and versus the new process that we're putting forward, the new methodology that we want everyone to adopt. And then you've got the tactic first perspective. So like if the method is like 5 steps, the tactic is one of those. It's like the one thing, the one action, the one task that people are doing kind of out of habit. And then the new tactic that we want to replace with. So every method falls onto one of these three categories. And the one to lead with actually depends on how warm your audience is that you're putting it in front of.
This makes sense. Got it. Yeah.
So if you go into
where they are.
Yeah, exactly. So if you go into like a cold audience and like, via paid ads, let's say, you actually want to lead with the tactic because that's something that like it's nothing too heavy. They can picture it. It's all very like immediate. So like a really good example of this is Loom. Because Loom was like when Loom started, it was just like these two guys, and they started a screen recorder that was like every other screen recorder, but theirs was a little bit more user friendly, and they were really struggling to like get any cut through. But then they had the Scott conversation, and Scott was an early user, and they were like, cool, so which of the use cases are you using for Loom? Are you recording software demos or are you recording online courses? And Scott was like, no, I'm not doing any of that. I'm just sending project updates to my team because it's way easier than trying to organize a meeting. And that was like the spark. And they're like, oh, this is not a screen recorder. This is a meeting replacement tool.
Exactly.
And that was the perspective that informed Loom, meetings off, Loom on. It was just like, it was the same technology that already existed. This is a crazy thing, right? The same technology, but you layer the right perspective over the top of it, and suddenly there's demand for it. And so this is what Loom did. This is how they became the biggest screen recorder in the world. And all of their competitors were talking about like, oh, Loom only lets you record for 5 minutes. We let you record for 10. It's like, they don't care. Because they got non-techie users to use a screen recorder for the first time by not framing it as a screen recorder, but as a meeting replacement tool. So that was like a tactic first perspective. It was like, we're just going to isolate meetings and talk to that. And so that's why it worked so well. And it worked for like cold audiences because it's like, great, I can understand it immediately. For something like method, that's actually where you want to have it like on your homepage. The headline should speak to like, hey, here is the old way of doing things versus how things should be done. And so I'll give you like an example of one of my clients who this is like a full service marketing agency, and they were like they were doing a lot of things, but they were doing like on their headline they had like marketing, branding, and public relations designed to your unique needs. Like And the founder was like, I know how generic our headline is. I'm so sorry. I'm like, yeah, it is generic.
Feel so bad about it. Yeah.
But I was like, you know what? There is one thing that's interesting here. And like they were in dire straits. Like they were losing money every day because they weren't getting leads in, and they had a team of 15 who were like twiddling their thumbs. And they're like, oh my God, we're just bleeding cash. Uh, and I was like, yeah, marketing, branding, public relations. Public relations is interesting because like most full service marketing agencies don't offer public relations. You guys do. What's the deal with that? And the founder was like, yeah, actually, not only do we do it better than most dedicated PR firms because like they just do the spray and pray press release thing. But he's like, I'm a former journalist. I've got deep ties to the industry. I get our clients published in relevant publications. And then we actually have the marketing to capture the attention that is generated. It doesn't just like go into the ether like it normally does with a usual PR firm. I'm like, okay, cool. This is what we need to be leading with. This is your perspective. So kind of reposition them from a marketing agency that does PR to a PR agency that does marketing. And then that became the headline of don't just generate buzz, capture it. And that headline speaks to a methodology. Like, hey, we've got a new way of doing things, and this is what we want you to be adopting. Like this protocol. Like even if you don't go with us, this is how you should do it. This is the
Mm.
process that works. So that's like a method first one. And then a mindset first one is like HubSpot's a good example. Like inbound marketing is kind of like a mindset of like it
Mhm.
captures a whole bunch of things. And so that's what you want to be leading with for like that's actually what you want to be leading with in the content. So that's kind of the way I break it down is like for your content, your organic content, make that mindset first. For your website where people are kind of in research mode, make that method first. And for
Mhm.
your cold traffic stuff, make that tactic first.
Mm. That's really enlightening, honestly, because like I get the core idea, but I was really kind of missing parts of kind of how to take it into action. That's really useful. That is not just one perspective; it's like a pyramid in a way, and like there are different levels. And it's what you said. Is depending on how warm or cold the audience is. If they're looking for a solution, if they already know you, so it's. I feel like if I have to describe it in a way, like on how I understand it now, is like the whole thing of leading with a perspective is a communication framework. Is that you communicate with perspectives, and the perspective, I feel it's the why. It's the answer to the following question is why is this great? Why is this service great? Like what's special about it? And it's not about the feature. Is what is the thought, not the thought process. Like what is the mindset that you build it with? I'll give an example and you can tell me if it's a good one or if it's a horrible example. So I've been it's a side project. It's not part of what we're normally doing. We're building the website for Serene Clean. It's a cleaning business in the United States. And how come an SaaS product design studio would do a cleaning business website is because Stephanie, the owner, is a customer of ZenMaid, which is one of the best teams that we're working with, which is a SaaS company. And we've been working with Steph for a long time now. She's part of the design course in a new website, and we started working on it because, yeah, I really feel like we would love to help her, and we understand her brand so well. And we were doing a few weeks ago the homepage, right? Like we're doing the content outline, and the content outline it has right now is that we're the highest rated cleaning service business in Wisconsin, like the area where they're based. And it was always leading with that we're very highly rated and that you're gonna get an amazing cleaning. I was like, okay, but what's special? Everybody can say that they have ratings. Like, what is special in the way that you're building your business? What is something that you're really proud of and others don't really do? And she started talking about how they're focused on training their employees, and that's one of your core values, that I want to build one of the best places for people to work in the cleaning industry, because cleaners are very stigmatized in general, and that also they're treated in a really bad way from many cleaning companies. It's not a fun environment to work into. They really screw you in a way, trying to make as many dollars as they can on you. And that she has a much different perspective, and it's actually, she has made it happen. It's not just words, it's actually something that is already happening. It has all kinds of things, from having the employee of the month, doing donations, and like many benefits and so on for her team. A very structured training program that everybody goes through, and many more things. And I started feeling that the perspective that we came up with is that when, what was it? That when Okay, give me one sec to open Framer. Like it was when cleaners feel valued, when cleaning, uh, give me a sec. Come on, you can do it. Loading. When cleaning techs feel valued, they deliver the kind of service that truly shines. So maybe the words are not great, but it's what if that was the headline of the homepage, let's say? It doesn't have to do with how good the clinic is or something, but it's a very unique perspective that if you treat your clinic technicians really, really well, they're going to deliver exceptional service. Because one problem that many customers have is that they just have a person that doesn't like to do this work. They just do it because they need the money and the energy is really bad. And with Stephanie, you get a very enthusiastic, cool team to work with that is always consistent, is always professional and so on. So this is something that kind of emerged. I'm not sure if that would be a good headline for the website itself, but I'm curious to hear from you. Does this feel like an example of a perspective or
Yeah, yeah,
did we miss a mark here?
no. That's definitely good. So it's like it's definitely in the right direction as long as it ties back to like answering the question of what's in it for me, for the customer,
Yeah, exactly.
right?
Exactly.
And so I think you raise a really good point of like, you know, everyone's had an experience with like a cleaner that's like was just not really didn't want to be there and like just kind of checking in and like kind of doing the bare minimum and you're like, I just paid for this. So it's really good for people who have been burned by cleaning companies before.
Yeah, exactly.
And not a small market. Like that's really good. And like that's so it's yeah, it's the kind of perspective that will get somebody who's purchased in the category before, but it would be less relevant to somebody who's never hired a cleaner before.
Exactly.
And I think that's okay because I would imagine as well that that this cleaning company is charging a more premium price.
Yeah, exactly.
And so somebody who's brand new to a category will generally go for a cheap option and then learn the hard way why it's the cheap option, and then they'll go to the bigger, more premium option.
Yeah.
That's like the natural flow, right? So yeah, dude, I think you're onto something.
And on this, actually, I really like how you describe it because it goes back to what you mentioned before. Depending on where your audience is, how cold they are or not, like what is the previous experience they have, this is going to define if that perspective is going to resonate with them. So maybe it could be good for homepage, maybe not. Maybe it could be great for like a campaign, like an advertising campaign, let's say. So yeah, it's man, the perspective kind of a thinking. It's a new world for me, and I really love it. It just kind of makes everything more interesting, and it doesn't feel like you just make another thing. There is some kind of a secret sauce in it, and I also love the word secret sauce when it comes to coming up with a sales pitch because there is yeah, like these secrets that restaurants have that you're like, okay, but what do they do? Is yeah, like I like it as an analogy that there is a very unique perspective in the case of a service because it's not an ingredient per se always, that makes it so special.
Yeah, I mean that's it. So
And
like a
so good.
perspective is really just like it's an expression of the differentiation of the business.
Mm, yeah,
And
exactly.
I get a lot of people like coming to me or they'll inquire about working with me. I'll be like, they'll say, Alex, we're not really differentiated. We kind of do what everybody else does. And 100% of the time, they've been wrong. Like, if people
Really?
are
Okay.
hiring this business instead of another business, there is a reason for that. There's always something. There's always something there. They can't see it. They're too close to it. You can't read the label when you're inside the jar, right? But there's always a differentiated thing.
So, like, you see me kind of smiling and nodding because I've been through that. I'm going through that. I'm on the process of trying to improve our sales pitch and kind of the core messaging and everything. And one exercise that I did was to literally sit down with my clients and ask, why me? Why don't you fire me tomorrow and go to somebody else? What is kind of holding you back from doing this? To try to understand kind of the value. I'm not sure if it's like the right question itself, but it was one of the questions that I was trying to extract what you just said is like if they chose you over another company or another freelancer, whatever that could be, there is a reason for that, and you just need to go deep and find it out.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah,
The trap there, just as like a heads up, the trap there that people fall into a lot. I'll tell you the story of Kevin, who's one of my clients. Lovely guy, COO of a big like financial firm. Um, and in order to like figure out like what is our differentiation, he hired this research firm, paid them 40K to go and interview a bunch of their clients, and get feedback from them. And the feedback that they received was lovely, but it was useless for a
Mm.
marketing context. Any guesses what the feedback was?
Any guess what the feedback was? What was the industry that Kevin is into? You said.
It was a financial planning firm.
Okay. What I can assume from my experience with trying to ask the why on the customers, because it's a tricky question where you sometimes it feels like you want them to give you the messaging, but you have to come up on your own, is that it's a bit kind of a superficial. It's like, yeah, sometimes, for example, in case of products, they may mention features or prices, and then you have kind of the same problem, and you need what I've seen sometimes that you need a bit of a conversation to ask more kind of a why and go a bit deeper and deeper. But that'll be my guess,
Yeah.
that it was more kind of a superficial and based on features, maybe, or
Well,
not.
yeah, exactly. But it was like, you know what? They've got great expertise. They always go above and beyond. They're really great to work with. Like really lovely
Yeah,
feedback, right?
the classic stuff. Yeah,
But it turns out that like those are valid as features, but there's two types of features in the service space. You've got like retention features and attraction features.
you had a newsletter on this, right? Now I feel like I've heard this before. It was maybe on a post or a newsletter. I think on your
Yeah,
newsletter
yeah,
I
yeah.
read this.
I didn't
Yes.
know that you're on my mailing list, but yeah, I wrote a big ranty email about this, where and because you just see it all the time, where people are like, "Oh, we've got great customer service." That's a retention feature. That's the kind of thing that's going to keep clients from not churning or to keep them coming back. But it's not an attraction feature. An attraction feature is like we build your website in 3 days, not 3 weeks. That's the thing that's going to get them in the door in the first place. So what you need to find is like what was that trigger event that actually got somebody to choose you versus other people, not why they stayed. That's the differentiation.
That's a really good one, because if I look back at the example that I shared of what I'm been doing like the last month, is I'm asking for the retention parts. Like, why don't you fire me? Is actually why don't you turn, which is the retention.
Exactly.
But why did you choose us in the beginning is a
Hmm.
different kind of a question, like the
Yeah.
acquisition part. Yeah, that's super useful. And I feel like if anybody that is going to watch this podcast and they're into the service, I feel like these apply also to SaaS. In terms of mentality, it comes down to selling something. I feel like we've come up with beautiful examples and practical. Like it feels like it's has become really practical through the conversation because of the examples and all the back and forth. On this one, it's one question that I had in mind to ask was, what is the difference between selling a SaaS product and a service? That's something before we started recording, that I mentioned that was enlightening from you. Like when you wrote it down, I was like, okay, now that I'm looking to build my marketing team, I really need to find people who specialize into services. And it really made sense the way that you described it. But yeah, I just wanted to go a bit deeper into that and explain a bit what is the difference between these two from your point of view.
Yeah. So there's, I mean, it's so the more you think about it, the more the differences reveal themselves. And it comes down to like the purchasing mindset that a potential buyer has. So when you're selling like B2B software, what you're really selling is a product. Like this exists, that code exists, and when they are buying it, they are unlocking access to it. When you're
Yeah.
selling a service, though, you're not selling a product, you're selling a promise. Selling the promise of a
Mm,
positive situation in the future. Like, hey, work, and like, there's no free trial, there's no 7 day thing, there's no like, the best you can
mm,
do is like a money back guarantee, but you can't, refund the time lost and the energy and all of the, everything. Like, it's a very high risk thing to buy a service, which is why people try not to do it. Like, people hate buying services. It's way uncomfortable. It's really scary. It's awful because it's such a gamble, right? It's a risky thing.
mm.
And so when it comes to services, the uncomfortable truth at the core of it is that it's not about how skilled you are, it's about how skilled you seem. It's a game of perception, not proficiency. And
Mm,
you would know firsthand, like if you've got competitors who are, are less competent than you, but are more successful and charge more and, are celebrated more and get more clients. It's if it was just about competence, if it was just about the product of the service, then that wouldn't be the case, right? But
Mhm.
It's about perception, not proficiency. And that means that the purchasing mindset shifts as well in the buyer's mind. So for a product, they're kind of vetting, but for a service,
Mhm.
they're betting. So what
Man,
it
you're good with words.
what, what it really requires is not just being an expert. You have to be an expert at conveying your expertise. For a B2B SaaS product, for instance, it's just about making the value really, really obvious. It's about being really clear about like what the features are, and as long as the features are valuable and hard to get elsewhere, then like you just have to be like clear about that. You just have to. This is why like so much of the copywriting stuff that you see on LinkedIn is like just be clear, be clear, be clear. For services, it's kind of different. You can't just, you have to be clear, but you also have to be compelling at the same time. And that's like, it introduces a whole layer of complexity.
That's very true. That's very, 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 very true. Because these are stripes that I'm also facing, like in my content, where you want to, like, when it comes to selling the promise, it's very easy to sell the promise, not to actually make the sale. To make a promise, it's easy, not to sell it, because to sell it is the hard part. And like you have all these bros on X mainly, not and on LinkedIn as well, like kind of promising that I'm gonna 10x your conversions and all these things. I'm gonna make the new landing page, and you flow leads are just gonna flowing, and you're gonna become a millionaire. And it's also a very tricky situation nowadays, because I'm not sure if it's the like my kind of accounts or if more people are experiencing it, but I feel like more and more people pop up with fake promises and overhyping the hell of out everything. And like, what's going on wrong with the internet? And it's usually, you see that it's young kids actually,
Mm-hmm.
especially in the design community, man. Like, I hate the design community nowadays. It's really people posting about money and fake revenue. Many of them have fake revenues as well, screenshots online. I'm
Mm-hmm.
like, yeah, this is not a nice place to hang out. And what I wanted to ask on this is making a promise very easy. And what makes it tricky to sell it is that it needs to be believable that you're in position to actually make it happen. That's something I realized. Like, everybody can say that we're gonna 10x, let's say, your conversions. Like, prove me you can do it. And maybe also, like with the promise, finding the right promise to make is a very interesting thing. I'll give a personal example on this, like just a personal story of what I'm going through as well. We're selling design, right? But the thing is, we're selling strategic product design. What does this mean is that many designers you can hire out there are just going to do the visual stuff. You're going to ask them to improve your onboarding, and they're going to come up with beautiful visuals, but they won't think about what questions should we ask about the account setup, and how are these questions being used? For example, are they used to personalize the experience once somebody signs up on the product? Are they used from the sales team to identify who are the high value accounts and the low value accounts so they can prioritize their work after? Like, there are many departments and also the users that could have a big impact these fields on. They won't think about these things. They will think about the visual. In our case, we first always think about growth strategy and user experience, and then about the visual. So we say that we combine growth and delight. This is something like special that we do that you cannot find easily out there. I used to feel that the promise we should do is that you're gonna work with us, you're gonna triple your retention rate, or like fix your onboarding and so on. And the thing is, when I did this in the past and I'm trying to do it less and less, it feels like I'm lying for the following reason. I cannot promise you I'm going to fix your onboarding.
Right.
Like, I'm going to do my best
Mm-hmm.
to have the right onboarding experience for the product, but I cannot control if the leads are high quality. I cannot control if your marketing sucks or not, and I cannot control if you have a good product vision and strategy. So I cannot promise you that I'm going to make you rich. What I can promise is that I'm going to create the foundation that you need from the design side, so that design will never be a blocker for you. If you do the other pieces of the puzzle right, I can promise you're going to grow with us, but I cannot promise you're going to grow for sure as a company. But the thing is, this can also go through as an insecurity sometimes, but I have the belief that if the client is really mature and they know what they're spending on, they will appreciate this kind of a level of honesty. So with the promise that you mentioned with the services, I just want to go a bit
Yeah.
deeper and
Yeah.
discuss kind of this part. Where do you draw the line, and
Talk about.
where is like the line between promise and over promising
Yeah.
actually?
Yeah. Awesome question. So you've actually hit the nail right on the head, where the promise that you're making always, in order for it to be believable, it has to be something that is actually in your control. So if you're like, hey, I'm going to 10x your revenue, that's not something that somebody can promise about somebody else's business. Like that's not actually in their control. And that's why it's like so unbelievable. And I'm pretty sure that like all the kids that are selling that are just like selling it to other kids. Like it's all just kids selling back and forth. They're probably 20-year-olds.
Yeah.
So that's actually how you make it believable is that you anchor it to something that you actually can measurably deliver against and control. Like this is going to be different, guaranteed after this. Now, when we go into, we're going to be delivering like design and delight. I can't remember what the exact words were, but the trap with that is that it tells them what you do, but it doesn't tell them what they can do because of you.
Mm,
So we
yeah.
do need to focus on the impact of what that combination of design and delight actually looks like. And that impact has to be anchored to a believable outcome that is within your purview of
Mm.
control. That's how we
Yeah, it's
generate
like
volume.
I said that we combine growth and delight, but what that really means, like it's easy to answer for me where I'm a designer, but what that really means is that we're gonna make your SaaS grow and convert better, but we're gonna make it stand out and have a great taste as well in a way, like something more visual that they can actually see on their product. That's a really good one. Yeah, yeah, like focus on the impact, not what you do, because
Yeah, yeah,
one, it's a bit of topic, but kind of related at the same time. Harry Try is my other favorite human when it comes to copywriting next to you. And with the marketing examples, and I think it was on David Perel, like the podcast episode that they made. There was a thing that he was mentioning that really stayed with me: the power of writing copy that it can be visualized,
yes,
that people can see.
yeah,
And also in the case of design, on what you said, that focus on the impact and not what you do in this case. When you focus on the impact, also people can see it. If I tell you make your SaaS stand out, let's say, or make your SaaS beautiful, it's something more visual compared to we combine growth and delight. Yeah,
yeah,
what does it even mean?
yeah,
Like for me, it's very clear because I do it, but to somebody that is buying this, they don't really understand. They cannot visualize it. They cannot feel it.
100%.
Um,
That's kind of that's something I say all the time is like if they can't picture it, they won't understand it. You have to be painting little images in people's minds in order for them to grasp it. Um, and what's the other thing I was going to say? Yeah, so when it comes to like growth and delight, again, yeah, growth, as you said, you can't actually control whether they grow or not. What you can do is set them up for that. It's really you're making their SaaS as attractive as possible, and attractive in both ways of the word, right? In both definitions of like it is visually attractive, but it's also more magnetically attractive. That's actually what you can control. That's a promise that you can make, and it's a promise that you can keep.
yeah. And I really love how well you describe it, is that we're going back to the question, which is where is the line between promising and over promising, is defining what you can control and doubling down on that. Actually, instead of like promising things that you cannot control. That's a really good way, kind of a very practical framework to think with. And also what you said, like if they cannot picture it. I have a question, it's more on the copywriting on this. And I'm curious if you have an answer for that. Why is it so hard to write words in a way that is visual? Like why, like what you just said makes total sense, right? And when we read text like that, it just feels so good. Like I had this experience. I remember when I read my first novel, but as a kid, I remember reading the book. Literally, the experience that I had, and I'm not exaggerating, was as if I was at the cinema. Like words, like it was like this deep flow state where you don't realize you're reading words. It just kind of goes really fast, and you kind of, it's like watching a movie. It was a very unique experience. I had it like a few times in my life, and it's like one of my favorite examples of what good copy can can look like. It doesn't feel like copy. It doesn't feel like words. It feels like something else because you can visualize it. But my question on this to you as a copywriter is, why is it so hard to write this way? I'm trying to write copy myself, but it's so freaking hard. Somehow you end up always with technical stuff that you think is great, but nobody understands.
Yeah. I mean, the quickest way to paint a visual image in people's minds with your words is to use a metaphor of something that they are already familiar with. And so the thing to always kind of go back to is like, okay, what would be like in either nature or in mechanics? Like people can picture a tree, they can picture a flower blooming, and that means that if you're like, okay, cool, so we're going to be building your SaaS and we're going to be making it way more attractive. You've got the roots there, you've got the stem, but the head of the flower, that needs to be attracting the right attention from the right bees. And so just like that, you've pictured this in your mind, right? And I now know how to
Uh,
take your product, what you're selling. I can visualize it. And the same thing for like mechanics, and I can't think of like a good example of that right now, but like it would be, think about like a bicycle. Like, is there something in the way that the gears turn or click in together that you can point to as a visual metaphor for what you're trying to convey? Does that make sense?
yeah. Totally, totally. And I realized like now with what we're discussing is that, yeah, like um, maybe it's not a great example, but even the words that we use, like I feel like when s- like me and you were experts, like in different fields, and we have all this technical jargon that we're using. Like for example, in my case, it's leads, trials, users, customers. Customers is the only thing that kind of people can fully understand. Of course, like people in the industry can understand what a trial means, but you cannot visualize a trial. I feel like it's yeah, maybe you can. Maybe it's not the best example, but I'm not sure if you get what I'm trying to say. Is that like all this technical terminology? It's something that kind of makes everything more complex when you try to simplify something. Because when you're an expert, you live into these terminals. Like you spend days like reading about these things, so they're really integrated into your brain, and stepping back and kind of a simplifying and humanizing how you communicate can be a big challenge. Which goes to my next question. It's like in that case, that's when you need Alex, actually. And one question, because we're heading to the end of the episode, is, let's say I'm listening to the podcast, I'm super hyped about Alex. I'm like, I need to work with this guy. He's amazing. What are the ways that you help businesses? Like, so this is a bit about your services and methodologies. So right now, yeah, what are the offerings that you have actually, and the structure in general?
Yeah. So like I said earlier, like I started out as a humble little copywriter, and what I would do is get somebody to give me money, and then they would send the brief, and I would crawl into my cave and type for a week, and then send it back. Be like, cool. I hope that you like it. Um, and weirdly, that doesn't work that great for anyone, because then they have to do like the revisions, and then they just basically have to end up rewriting what you've written, and you're like, oh no, but it was that way for a so I had a big pivot actually when I had this one client who changed my life, Craig, who went through that usual process, sent him a Google Doc. Here is your copy for the landing page, and he sent back like an all caps thing of like, "What is this? Give me my money back. I'm gonna sue you." And I was like, "Oh God, like I better do something here." And so I set up a call. I was like, "Oh, I'll just get him on the phone." Got him on the phone, and rather than like trying to like defend anything, I was just like, let's just go through. Like, here is exactly why this page is written in the way that it is. Here is the logic behind the structure and the sequence and the information hierarchy and the flow. And we got to the end, and like he was like, "Oh, could we do another project together?" And I was like, "No," because the vibes were like way off. But like that changed something in my brain. I was like, right, I shouldn't be working in isolation. I should be working in collaboration. And so everything I do now is fully like live and in the moment, and we're doing like a lot of like, a good amount of like strategy work up front. Like, how should you be positioned in the market? What are people comparing you to? And what is your perspective on how things should be? Like we need to like actually extract like how things are typically done in your industry and how you think things should be done. That then informs what the messaging should be, and then we'll typically apply that to whatever like the highest priority touch point is for the business. Sometimes that's like a sales deck, sometimes it's a homepage, sometimes it's a thought leadership strategy, like whatever that is. But again, like that all happens live in workshops. And so yeah, I kind of have that kind of series, this kind of flow that I've just been fine tuning for years and years and years. You know what I'm talking about? Like you just like
Yeah,
you
yeah. It's like
making
a
the product.
service, like a product.
It
You
really
need to
is.
keep iterating.
All the time. You can't stop iterating. So it's just been like 5 years of pure iteration, and it's pretty nice and streamlined now. So yeah, that's kind of how it works.
Okay, so it's a series of workshops, and I love the story. I really love the story because it really speaks to me as well. On there is a big trend that I want to make a quick comment on that. There is a big trend in the design industry, like in the industry that I'm into, with design subscriptions, right? And they say there are many agents out there say we're a design partner, let's say for early stage companies, and they do cool designs and so on. And you look at the pricing and the model, and it comes from like a popular designer that I'm personally not a big fan of, but that's another story, from Brett, where it's about a sync request. So the whole pricing model is you send us a request and we do the design, and you're going to have a 24 hours delivery time, and you can have as many requests as you want, but it has to be one at a time. So you can iterate as much as you want, and it's a subscription of, let's say, 5,000. And I never really, it got a huge hype because, of course, he started posting screenshots about the millions that he's making, and all the designers like, oh, I want to be a millionaire, so I'm going to do the same thing. Like Brett is the god of design and so on. It's a typical kind of a thing that happens on Twitter with everybody. And I never really understood it because I'm like, how can you make a great design without talking with the team behind the product? Like the role of a product designer is to understand the vision of the company, the perspective, and the unique approach on how they're building it compared to the competition, and take all this knowledge and mindset and put it into a UI. In your case, you put something like this into words. In my case, it's a functional interface that I need to design. How can I do this through a Trello board where they send a request? This is maybe if I design banners for a marketing team that exactly knows what they need and they just need a bit of graphic design. Sure, I could do that. Like it's more of a factory kind of a design service, but you cannot do deep creative strategic work with no code. So that's why I wanted to share this example, because it's a big trend on the design industry that I don't get. And it's funny because they say we're product design partner, but then you look at the portfolio and it's a bunch of logos and websites, because these are the things that people just need a quick delivery, like a bit of visual design.
Yeah, yeah. I'm pretty sure that guy's a genuine scammer. Like I don't believe him because
Same.
if you've like cracked a business model that is making you millions with like apparently very little effort, you don't tell people about that. You keep that to
Right?
yourself. You don't introduce competition into the field, obviously, right?
Yeah. The story is always, I want you all guys to be successful. Come on. Like, that's why I'm selling a course on,
Yeah,
on how
yeah,
to do
yeah.
this business. Yeah. I mean, you said it out loud. I had it in my head. But yeah, I have the same feeling. He has good design skills, but I don't get it, man. You cannot have 50 clients and also do all these cool 3D
No,
designs that he shares on Figma and spend so much time on marketing.
no,
It's
definitely
just
not.
pure logic. If you're a
No.
freelancer, you can understand.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I mean, it's a commodification of design that he's really propelling forward with that kind of model and with that kind of mindset, right? It's
Yeah. Yeah.
telling people to devalue design, that it's just a factory-like thing, and that there is no
Yeah.
special strategic thought that goes into it, right? It
Yeah.
signals
Yeah.
a lot, and that devalues everything as a whole, and which is kind of bad, right? Because it means that you have to fight against that now. It's like, but and I could rant about this guy forever, but I've seen a lot of people try and adopt that business model. I've yet to see it
Mhm.
pay off. I've yet to see it truly work in a sustainable,
Mm.
profitable way for any businesses, and I've seen a lot of businesses try.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, it's good for us that we understand that it doesn't work, because it means like I see these kind of things as distraction, like distraction for the people that are building, because yeah, somebody can go and buy the service. They're gonna have like a bad experience if they're not looking for exactly what he's delivering, and then come to people like us where we understand like the core kind of like how a service truly work. And it's a service. Also, like a quick comment on this, that I feel sometimes And yeah, I know we're a bit over time, but I promise it's my last comment because like we're really in a good flow on the conversation on the yeah, a big topic and a realization that I had from the previous agency that I tried to build is the following. And that comes from, I don't remember his name, but he's a CEO of a SaaS company that was trying to hire me. And we had an interview and he said, Jim, for me as a CEO, how I see successful hire is the following way. You have a personal strategy and personal goal, and you have a company strategy and company goal. When these two align, that's when cool things happen. I need to make sure as the CEO that your personal growth and our company growth are going to align so we can grow together. It's like, man, this makes so much sense because why many people leave from companies? Because they're not growing anymore and they want to grow further, or because the company is toxic, which is a different kind of story. And if we change the people in this formula and talk about the client and the service provider, one is in order to have a very successful collaboration, you need the client goal, like the client growth, to be aligned with the agency growth, let's say. And that's why I'm a big believer that a great business starts from the core business model. It's not about the marketing, all these things. Of course, these add up, but it's about the foundation. It's the business model. And if you look at the design subscription and so on, it's very ego-centric. It's very kind of a revenue-centric for the agency, but not good for the client because the client, if we're talking about the product design, they need the collaboration, they need something else, but it's not scalable. And they want to have like one request, they want to have a Trello board, they don't want to do video calls because they just want designers to design all day as fast as possible to create designs. And it's not aligned with the success of the client. And that's a big topic that I've been thinking about is that my role as the founder of this company is to make sure that always our growth is aligned with the growth of our clients, and success is gonna happen organically because we want to succeed and we help each other succeed. And that's why, for example, I've been thinking about like equity, to buy equity from companies like that we work with if they're open to that, because we do long-term partnerships, we really help them, and we can understand if they're doing well or not, and we'll have faith, and it will be interesting to explore different types of partnerships as well in the future. And that's like when you're willing to spend like, let's say 100,000 to buy a bit of equity on a company, that's the ultimate kind of a way of saying, you know what, we really kind of are here to create value for you and we want to invest money in you, let's say. So yeah, it's a very interesting kind of a framework of thinking, like this concept of having these two types of strategies, and then you need to make sure that they're aligned.
I
Absolutely.
really like that. I really like that. I'm going to think about that because I think that's spot on. I mean, I think a mentor once said to me, like every relationship, professional, personal, every type of relationship is a series of escalating commitments.
Hmm.
You like, and this is the big mistake that a lot of service providers make, which is like going in with like, cool, here's our full big thing, like a 12-month contract and all the bells and whistles. And it's like, whoa, that's a big commitment and we've just met. That's like, it's not a value proposition, that's a marriage proposition. But when you like peter it out, and so this is actually what I do, is like I have my like, here's the process, and we're really just talking about this first phase of like, let's get the homepage really locked in with your new perspective. But even with that, I've got like an intro offer of like, cool, let's just do the first workshop. Let's do differentiation discovery workshop together. Make sure that we work together well, and that's like, that the fee for that gets credited to the full thing if we do end up going ahead. Like, it's building that, and it's
Great.
also kind of creating that alignment as well of just making sure that we are the right partner for each other in a way that actually works.
I really love it. And like a really good analogy is like, think about like a partner, right? Like if I think about Peppy, my wife, like you don't start like first day and be like, hey, do you want to get married? Do you want to marry me? Like this is not how it goes. Like you meet, you go for a drink, you go for a dinner, you feel the vibe of each other, you communicate with mates and so on. Like I really like this analogy because it's what you said is like levels of commitment that happen kind of organically. And this applies also to the service provider client relationship and even with hiring. And a thing that I wanted to share briefly on this is I'm growing the team now. We're looking to hire product designers. And one way for me to test if somebody's a good fit, I actually pay them for a few hours to do collaborative design sessions. So it's not a design exercise that you have to design this in a day to see if you're good at or not. I just want to join me for 3 design calls and design together. Maybe invite them into client calls as well and see how is the vibe, and they really like it so far, like with the people that have tried it, because I give them the space also and the time to explore if it's a good fit for them. It's not only about me that I'm investing the money, they're also investing their time. They want to grow, they have other things to do as well. It's both sides actually. So think about this, that it comes with levels of commitment. I feel it can be life-changing as a mindset on business as well.
Percent.
Good stuff. Really, really nice conversation.
I could talk to you forever. I could talk to you all day, easy.
Yeah, same. The flow is really, really, really nice. I'm fully on the same page. The so in terms of the podcast, the last question that I have is, what is your favorite SaaS product and why? I'm not gonna elaborate. I just want kind of your genuine answer on that. What comes to your mind?
You know what comes to my mind is I don't know if I have one. I don't know if I have a favorite SaaS product.
Top 3, maybe?
I no, it's kind of the opposite of like
Mm,
SaaS is like a necessary evil for me.
okay.
That's extreme. I take like that's a lot, but I'm not.
I love it. I want to go deeper into that.
What I found works for me is not trying to optimize my workflows, and SaaS is at its core a workflow optimization category.
Very true.
And I like, if I had I could just imagine, like, I like to sit down and open up like, I have Notion, but I hate Notion. I use my Notes app on my thing, and this is like that. My Notion is just like the Apple Notes app that's on the desktop, like on the computer.
Mm,
And I sit down and like I just write everything there, and I don't know. I just live in a very manual kind of unoptimized kind of. I live a kind of
mm.
unoptimized life, and so
Oh, that's cool.
yeah, I have SaaS tools, but I don't really think about them as like my children. More just like, oh yeah, like you do this.
Okay. So I hear that the Notes app is maybe one of your favorites, or also like you feel that it's not a SaaS, it's
Yeah,
more of an app in this
it's an
case.
app. Yeah, it's not a SaaS, it's an app, but it
Hmm.
would be hands down my favorite one. Yeah, yeah.
I love it. Why would you say that? Like, why would you say? I mean, like, what makes it your favorite in a way? What are the things that you like about it?
It's like it's lightweight. It's snappy. It's easy to search.
Mm,
um, like all the categories of things, like it all you can categorize everything easily. Like I think I've become a bit of a power user with with the Notes app, with the Apple Notes app. Um, it's actually got a lot of good
mm,
little features once you like get versed on it. It's very simple. It's to the point. Doesn't try and do anything. Notion makes my like it's hungry. It's like a chuggy, hungry beast. And I tried to like move
mm,
my writing stuff and everything and all my thoughts to Notion. And then I went back to the Notes app. I was like, no, we actually had it here. This is great.
mm. I hear you. Yeah, yeah. I totally understand what you mean. I'm using Notion. I'm also using Coda, which like
Mm,
Grammarly recently bought them. But I'm also using the Notes app, and there is something magical in it, like the simplicity of it, and it really feels like a notepad. It doesn't feel like a workspace. It
yes,
feels like a notepad.
yes, exactly. There's something you like can focus. Yeah.
That's okay. That's really cool. I mean, you're a writer also. It makes sense that it's the Notes app. Have you tried a writer? This is more like for authors, but have you heard of it?
AIA writer?
It's is it IA Writer? Let me check. I think it's, yeah, IA Writer. It's like a very popular one where you write in Markdown and it's literally no noise. It's just like a white window
Mm,
where you just type. So it's very, especially if you're writing, let's say, a book, it's really the whole idea. We declutter everything so it can focus on the core
mm.
in a way. And it's I'm not using it because I'm not a good fit for the audience, but it's a product that I deeply appreciate in terms of the perspective in this case that they have. And the whole perspective really kind of on the product strategy is a really big thing. Also, like
Mhm.
it's goes back to what we discussed today as well. But the unique perspective on how you see the what is like the right product to build has a massive impact on the product strategy. Like Knowledge All is a team that we're working with, and it's a knowledge based software. So it's like you just build like an internal or external help center, let's say, and their core kind of proposition and value is that we want to give authors the power. So now that we're discussing about AI, there's this perspective that we want to give power to the authors. We don't see AI as a tool to replace them or something. We see AI as a tool to help them kind of get rid of the tedious tasks, the things that they don't want to care about, let's say, or to help them like brainstorm and be more creative. So it's like the whole thing of what you've been saying, that your perspective is your product. I strongly feel that it it's very related. It's like very valuable in the SaaS world as well, and especially in the topic of product strategy, because like the unique perspective, the unique view you have on the market is going to define what are you. It's going to define the version of the product you believe that is great to build. Actually,
Totally,
um,
totally. I
yeah.
actually think it's becoming more and more relevant in the SaaS space as like
Mm,
all of like the obvious tools have been built and adopted, and everything that's coming out
mm,
now is like it's necessarily disruptive. It's not just like we're digitizing something manual. It's like no, no, no. We're you're already using software that achieves something like this, but we have a totally different approach to doing that. And to get people bought
mm.
into that new approach requires a perspective.
Yeah, yeah, 100%. Yeah, with AI now with so much noise, 100%. I'm really curious how SaaS is gonna evolve. There's a new community that I figured recently. I found it's called VSaaS, so vertical SaaS companies. ZenMaid is an example where they focus on a vertical, like cleaning businesses. We started working with another client that is a pet care scheduling software for pet care businesses, where it's like again a very specific
Yeah,
industry, and I feel that's very yeah, one of the perspectives with vertical SaaS is that if you build a software that serves 10 different industries, it's going to be complex. But if you do one for only cleaners, it's entirely different. And I've seen it between pet care businesses and cleaning businesses, entirely different industries. Even if both just provide a service, and in theory, they just have appointments and invoices, it's way more complex than that. And the way that they operate internally,
yeah,
there is a check in, check out in the pet care. There are so many different things. So,
totally,
yeah.
totally. I think that's it. I think we can look at like I like to compare like Mailchimp and ConvertKit because Mailchimp is very much trying to be like where for everyone. If you need to send email to a mailing list, Mailchimp. But then you've got the ConvertKit. I think they're just called Kit now. Like they're just built for creators, and they're like we've got like 20% of the features that Mailchimp has, but you don't need all of those other ones. Like you just need these core ones, and they're built for
Mm.
creators specifically. And there you go.
That's a great example. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Because Meltzer used to be the fun and cool guy in the room. Now it's just a corporate company from A to It. So sad.
So
Like I used to be in love with Meltzer.
I know, it's so bleak. And you look at the headline on their website is like generate more revenue with emails or something like that. And it's like there's an example of a promise that you can't keep. Like it's
Yeah, that's a great example, actually. Yeah, of like what we mentioned before. It's like, yeah, okay, I can sign up for Mailchimp, start sending emails, and I guess I can make money. Problem solved.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah, it's literally if you kind of translate kind of the heading, it's literally what I just described now, which makes no sense.
makes
Yeah.
no sense. It's crazy.
Nice. Cool. So yeah, these are the questions that I had for today. Really, really cool episode. I had this gut feeling that I'm gonna do another one in the future, but I will have to pick a different topic. But yeah, we'll have many interesting things to discuss, honestly. So big thanks for joining me. I hope you had a fun time as well.
The blast, dude. Thank you so much.
Yeah, anytime, man. Anytime.